The moment you realize they couldn't break your spirit is the moment you discover they were never your enemy. You were fighting a war within yourself, and they were merely the mirror. There comes a sacred moment in every soul's journey when the fog lifts and you see the truth with crystalline clarity. You've been carrying wounds that were never meant to define you. You've been believing stories about yourself that were written by those who couldn't understand the depth of your being. They tried everything, didn't they? They questioned your worth, undermined your confidence, made you second-guess every instinct that burned bright within you. When their external attacks failed to diminish your light, they deployed a more insidious weapon. They made you doubt yourself. Carl Jung understood this profound truth. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Because when you truly accept yourself, you become unbreakable, and that terrifies those who live in the shadows of their own unexamined fears. Tonight, we embark on a journey into the depths of your psyche, where healing awaits, and your authentic self yearns to emerge. This is not merely about recovery. This is about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Let us first understand the architecture of doubt. It doesn't build overnight. It's constructed brick by brick, comment by comment, rejection by rejection, until it becomes a fortress that keeps your authentic self imprisoned. They couldn't break you because your essence is unbreakable. Your soul carries an ancient wisdom, a divine spark that no external force can extinguish. So they employed a different strategy. They convinced you to break yourself. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, Jung observed. Those who tried to diminish you were projecting their own shadows, their own unhealed wounds, their own fears of inadequacy onto you. They saw in you what they couldn't access within themselves: authenticity, courage, the willingness to be vulnerable. But here's what they didn't understand. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's the birthplace of courage, creativity, and change. When you dared to be authentic in a world that rewards conformity, you triggered their deepest insecurities. Think about it. How many times were you told you were too sensitive, too emotional, too much? These weren't criticisms. They were confessions. Confessions from people who had learned to numb themselves, who had forgotten how to feel deeply, who envied your capacity to experience life in its full spectrum. Your sensitivity is not a flaw to be corrected. It's a gift to be honored. Your emotions are not chaos to be controlled. They're wisdom waiting to be understood. Your intensity is not a problem to be solved. It's a flame that can light the way for others lost in darkness. Jung spoke of the shadow, that part of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, the aspects we've been taught to reject or hide. But here's the paradox. What we resist in ourselves, we attack in others. Those who tried to make you doubt yourself were wrestling with their own shadows. They saw your light and were reminded of their own darkness. They witnessed your courage and were confronted with their own cowardice. They observed your authenticity and were faced with their own masks. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, Jung taught us. While they projected their darkness onto you, you have the opportunity to integrate yours, to acknowledge all parts of yourself with compassion and understanding. This is where your healing begins. Not in rejecting the parts of yourself that others criticized, but in embracing them with love. Your anger? It's your boundary-setting mechanism. Your sadness? It's your capacity for deep empathy. Your fear? It's your survival instinct protecting what matters most. The voices that told you to be smaller, quieter, more acceptable. These weren't the voices of wisdom. They were the echoes of generational wounds, passed down from those who had learned to survive by shrinking themselves. But you, beautiful soul, you were never meant to shrink. You were meant to expand, to grow, to take up space in this world with your unique gifts and perspectives. The very qualities they tried to shame you for are the ones the world needs most. Your questions challenged their certainties. Your emotions disrupted their numbness. Your authenticity exposed their pretense. No wonder they felt threatened. No wonder they tried to silence you. Now we reach the sacred threshold, the moment of alchemical transformation. Jung called this process individuation, the journey toward becoming who you truly are, separate from the expectations and projections of others. This is where the real work begins. Not in defending yourself against their doubts, but in developing such a profound relationship with your authentic self that their opinions become irrelevant background noise. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are, Jung reminds us. But this privilege must be claimed, not granted. It requires courage to face the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide. It demands strength to love yourself in ways others couldn't. The doubt they planted in your mind was never about you. It was about their inability to see your worth. Their limitations became your prison only because you mistook their blindness for truth. But what if I told you that every moment of doubt was actually preparing you for this awakening? What if every criticism was strengthening your discernment? What if every rejection was redirecting you toward your authentic path? You see, they couldn't break you because you're not breakable in the way they understand breaking. You're not a machine with parts that can malfunction. You're not a problem that needs solving. You're a soul on a journey of becoming, and every experience, even the painful ones, has been preparing you for this moment of recognition. The phoenix doesn't fear the fire because it knows the fire is not its destroyer. It's its transformer. You have been in the fire and you are ready to rise. This rising isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Right about your worth. Right about your gifts. Right about your place in this world. Your healing journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering who you've always been beneath the layers of doubt and conditioning. It's about remembering your original face, as the mystics say it's the face you had before the world told you who to be. As you begin this process of reclaiming yourself, you might feel resistance, not just from others, but from within. This is natural. Your psyche has developed protective mechanisms, and it will take time to trust that it's safe to be authentic. Again, Jung understood this. The most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed. The very struggles that nearly broke you are becoming the foundation of your unshakable strength. You're learning to distinguish between your voice and their voices, your intuition and their projections, your truth and their fears. This discernment is not just healing, it's liberation. Notice how differently you move through the world when you're not carrying the weight of their expectations. Notice how your energy shifts when you stop trying to prove your worth to people who are never capable of seeing it. Notice how your relationships transform when you show up as yourself rather than as who you think they want you to be. This is the gift that was hidden in your pain, the capacity to love yourself so completely that you become a sanctuary of peace in a chaotic world. Your healing becomes a beacon for others who are still lost in the maze of self-doubt. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed, Jung observed. Every person you encounter now will be met by your authentic self, not your wounded self. This changes everything. Your conversations become deeper because you're no longer performing. Your relationships become more meaningful because you're no longer pretending. Your work becomes more fulfilling because you're no longer hiding your gifts. But perhaps most importantly, your relationship with yourself becomes a source of strength rather than criticism, support rather than sabotage, love rather than judgment. You're learning to be your own best friend, your own wise counselor, your own gentle parent. The external validation you once desperately sought is being replaced by an internal knowing that cannot be shaken by others' opinions. What you're doing now is the most sacred form of rebellion. You're refusing to be diminished by those who couldn't see your light. You're choosing to believe in yourself when the world gave you every reason not to. This is not arrogance. This is radical self-love. This is not delusion. This is clarity. This is not selfishness. This is the greatest gift you can give to the world. The gift of someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to embody it. Jung spoke of the transcendent function, the ability to hold opposing forces in creative tension until something new emerges. You have been living this function. You've held the tension between who they said you were and who you knew yourself to be. And from this tension, your authentic self is emerging stronger than ever. Every time you choose self-compassion over self-criticism, you're breaking generational patterns of shame. Every time you honor your feelings instead of dismissing them, You're healing not just yourself but the collective wound of emotional suppression. Every time you speak your truth instead of staying silent, you're giving others permission to do the same. Your healing is not just personal, it's political, spiritual, revolutionary. In a world that profits from your insecurity, your self-love is an act of resistance. In a society that feeds on your self-doubt, your confidence is a threat to the status quo. They tried to make you doubt yourself because they understood something you're just beginning to remember. You are powerful, beyond measure. Your authenticity has the capacity to wake others up from their unconscious slumber. Your vulnerability can heal wounds they didn't even know they carried. Your courage can inspire them to find their own. This is why they felt so threatened, not because you were wrong, but because you were so right that it illuminated their wrongness. Not because you were weak, but because you were so strong that it exposed their weakness. Not because you were broken, but because you were so whole that it revealed their fragmentation. Now comes the integration phase, the art of living from this new awareness. It's one thing to have an awakening. It's another to embody it in your daily life. You'll find that some relationships naturally fall away as you stop accommodating their projections. This is not loss. This is natural selection. You're making space for connections that can meet you at your authentic level. You'll discover that some environments no longer feel right as you stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were too small for your spirit. This is not failure, this is growth. You're outgrowing containers that could never hold your full potential. You'll notice that some goals no longer inspire you as you stop chasing achievements meant to prove your worth to others. This is not giving up, this is waking up. You're aligning with purposes that arise from your authentic desires rather than your wounds. Jung reminds us, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. You have looked inside and awakened to a truth that can never be taken from you. You are worthy of love, respect, and belonging exactly as you are. This doesn't mean you stop growing or improving. It means you grow from a place of self-love rather than self-rejection. You improve because you want to express your gifts more fully, not because you need to fix what's wrong with you. The difference is profound. Growth from self-love is sustainable, joyful, and authentic. Growth from self-rejection is exhausting, performative, and ultimately hollow. You're learning to trust your inner guidance system, that quiet voice that always knew your worth, even when the world's noise was drowning. Bay it out. This voice doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand, it invites. It doesn't criticize, it guides. Let's honor something beautiful about your journey, your sensitivity. In a world that has forgotten how to feel, you've maintained your capacity for deep emotion. This is not your weakness, this is your superpower. Your sensitivity allows you to perceive nuances others miss. You can sense the unspoken pain in someone's eyes, the hidden fear behind someone's anger, the love that someone struggles to express. This is emotional intelligence at its highest level. Your empathy creates healing spaces wherever you go. People feel safe with you because you don't judge their struggles. You understand them. You've been in the depths yourself, and you know the way back to the light. Your intuition serves as a compass in a world full of confusion. While others get lost in external noise, you can tune into the deeper currents of truth. This is why their gaslighting never quite worked. Your inner knowing kept whispering the truth. Jung valued this deeply. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. Your willingness to face your own shadows has given you the ability to hold space for others' shadows without being threatened by them. But perhaps most importantly, your sensitivity is your connection to the sacred. You can feel the divine in moments of beauty, the transcendent in acts of love, the eternal in experiences of connection. This is mystical awareness, and it's a rare gift in our materialistic world. The people who tried to shame your sensitivity were afraid of their own. They had learned to numb themselves to survive, but in doing so, they had cut themselves off from the very source of life's meaning, the ability to feel deeply and love fully. Your refusal to numb yourself, despite the pain it sometimes brings, is an act of courage that should be celebrated, not criticized. You chose to remain open in a world that rewards closure, vulnerable in a system that values invulnerability, feeling in a culture that promotes numbness. As you reclaim your authentic self, you'll notice a different kind of power emerging within you. This isn't the power to control or dominate others. This is the power to be completely yourself without apology. This authentic power doesn't need to prove itself through aggression or accomplishment. It simply is. That radiates from your presence, speaks through your actions, and touches others through your being. Jung understood this. The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can only be outgrown. You have outgrown the problem of needing others' approval. You have outgrown the need to defend your worth. You have outgrown the compulsion to make yourself smaller for others' comfort. This growth isn't just personal evolution, it's spiritual maturation. You're moving from ego-driven living to soul-centered being, from reactive responses to conscious choices, from fear-based decisions to love-based actions. Your authentic power attracts what's meant for you and repels what isn't. The right people are drawn to your genuineness like flowers turning toward the sun. The wrong people feel uncomfortable around your authenticity because it challenges their pretense. This natural sorting process saves you enormous energy. You no longer waste time trying to convince people to value you or trying to fit into spaces where you don't belong. Your energy is now available for creation, connection, and contribution. You're discovering that you don't need to be perfect to be lovable, successful to be valuable, or accepted by everyone to belong somewhere. Your belonging comes from within now. You belong to yourself, and that's enough. This internal belonging creates an unshakable foundation. External circumstances can change, people can come and go, situations can shift, but your relationship with yourself remains constant and supportive. From this foundation, you can take risks you never dared before, not because you're reckless, but because you know that your worth isn't dependent on the outcome. You can love more freely because rejection doesn't devastate you anymore. You can create more boldly because criticism doesn't silence you anymore. Your healing is not just about you. It's a gift to the collective human experience. Every person who reclaims their authentic self contributes to the healing of our species' collective shadow. Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, the shared psychic material that connects all humanity. When you heal your individual wounds, you contribute to the healing of similar wounds in the collective field. Your courage to be authentic gives others permission to do the same. Think about the people in your life who are still trapped in the cycle of self-doubt and people-pleasing. Your example of self-love and authenticity plants seeds in their unconscious that may bloom when they're ready. You become a living proof that it's possible to break free from the prison of others' opinions. Your refusal to stay broken keeps the possibility of healing alive in the collective consciousness. Your willingness to trust yourself despite others' doubts strengthens the archetype of self-trust in the human psyche. Your commitment to authentic living challenges the collective agreement that we must conform to be loved. This is sacred work. You're not just healing yourself. You're healing the ancestral wounds of shame, the generational patterns of self-rejection, the collective trauma of not being enough. Your healing reverberates backward through your lineage and forward into future generations. The children who will grow up in a world where you refuse to stay small will have different possibilities available to them. The friends who witness your transformation will remember that healing is possible when they face their own dark nights of the soul. The strangers who encounter your authentic presence will feel something stir within them, a remembering of their own buried authenticity. Your journey from self-doubt to self-love is not just personal transformation, it's cultural revolution. In a world that profits from insecurity, your security is subversive. In a society that feeds on comparison, your self-acceptance is radical. In a system that requires conformity, your authenticity is revolutionary. This awakening to your authentic self is not a destination. It's an ongoing journey of becoming. There will be days when the old doubts try to creep back in, when the familiar voices of criticism seem louder than your inner wisdom. This is normal and expected. Healing isn't linear, and growth isn't constant. There will be spirals and setbacks, moments of forgetting, and periods of remembering. This is the natural rhythm of transformation. What's different now is that you have tools you didn't have before. You have awareness where there was once unconsciousness. You have self-compassion where there was once self-criticism. You have inner wisdom where there was once external seeking. When the old patterns arise, you'll recognize them as visitors rather than truths, as temporary weather rather than permanent climate. You'll greet them with the same gentle awareness you might use to observe clouds passing through the sky of your consciousness. Jung taught us, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." You have chosen to become someone who trusts themselves, someone who honors their worth, someone who lives authentically despite the world's resistance. This choice must be renewed daily, sometimes moment by moment. It's a practice, not a perfection. Some days it will feel effortless. Other days it will require tremendous courage. Both experiences are part of the journey. Your commitment to yourself is like tending a garden. It requires consistent attention, patient nurturing, and faith in the unseen growth happening beneath the surface. Some seasons will be more abundant than others, but the roots you're developing now will sustain you through all weather. Remember that everyone who has ever lived authentically has faced criticism, doubt, and resistance. You're joining a lineage of souls who chose truth over comfort, authenticity over acceptance, self-love over self-abandonment. You're in good company. As we conclude this journey together, know that what we've explored is not just psychological healing, it's spiritual. Remembering, you haven't become someone new. You've returned to who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and doubt. The person they tried to break was never the real you anyway. It was the false self, the adaptive persona, the mask you wore to survive in a world that couldn't handle your full radiance. Their attacks only succeeded in cracking the shell that was keeping your authentic self imprisoned. What emerges now is your eternal essence, the part of you that was never touched by their criticism, never diminished by their doubt, never broken by their attempts to control you. This essence is unbreakable because it's connected to something larger than any individual opinion or external circumstance. Jung's final wisdom echoes through time. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, but ultimately, the most important thing is to be who you are without apology, without explanation, without permission. You are who you are, not despite their attempts to change you, but because of your courage to remain yourself through it all. Your authenticity is your victory, your self-love is your revolution, your healing is your gift to the world. They couldn't break you because you were never meant to be broken. You were meant to be whole, complete, authentically and unapologetically yourself. And so you are. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Carl Jung. If this reflection spoke to your soul, subscribe. You are not alone. The journey is just beginning.